Freedom is a fascinating concept integral to the structure of what philosophy is, and now I'm the most free I'll be in my entire life. In this episode, I want to explore the theory of freedom with you, but not just its theory, also how it feels, how it hurts, how it rips apart the very basis of our lives. And there's no better method for telling this story than through a day in my life, the true window into our state of mind. So today, I'm officially leaving Bogota, the capital city of Colombia. First, I'm gonna head to Nimaima, the place you saw in the last episode. I shot a video for the owner, so I get to stay here for free. I also get to fill my bags up with bananas for the travel, so, it's a pretty good setup. I arrived late, so I just read and watched the fireflies that night, and then I went to bed as soon as it cooled off. The next morning, I woke up at 5. I meditated for an hour and a half, made the oatmeal breakfast I had every day at the Zen temple, met up with Iban, the owner, then meditated for another hour. This is a pretty typical daily morning routine for me when I'm alone. If you want to learn about my whole meditation practice, I got an episode on it. After spending the morning there, I headed north towards a place called Samana. The motorcycle trip is really interesting. I have so much time to think. Yet because you hear the wind past your ears and there's no roof above your head, you really feel like you're in the landscape. My mind was adventuring through philosophy's concept of freedom. I'm the most free I've been in my entire life. What an interesting thing to realize. I barely make any money off this channel to call it a job. I have no relationship, no calendar of any sort. I'm also now no longer limited by transportation, time, or language. Then on top of all of this for me is meditation. While driving, I recalled the first paragraph of Zen Roots by Kyogen Carlson. When the wind blows through scattered bamboo, they don't hold its sound after it's gone. So the mind of the superior man begins to work only when an event occurs, and it becomes a void again when the matter ends. That night, I made it to a cabin in Samana. I made some Italian food as usual and watched the sunset. There's another section in Zen Roots I really liked. It said, in letting things such as thoughts, feelings, and perceptions come and go, we find something that lies beneath these changing experiences. I think that's beautiful. My life has never been in such a state of change. Each day, I meet new people, and then I leave them. I discover a new place, and then one different the next day. Maybe when what constitutes life is transient, we do become more aware of the underlying forms. I never knew Colombia had pine forests. The nature is so beautiful here. I spent the next day editing footage from Bogota and finishing the video for the cabin owner. I had my oats for breakfast, meditated, and had an egg for lunch, one of my other favorite parts about Colombia. The owner of this cabin had a resort in the middle of the Reservoir. She said it was under renovation, so I could stay there for free. I headed there later that day and met up with one of the workers that night. In my opinion, the coolest thing here is having a fresh smoothie and a soup with every meal. I absolutely love it. Later that night, we watched the stars together. He taught me what estrella fugaz and la Via Láctea meant. I love how every human on this planet, when gazing up at the stars, will ask you those larger questions. What do you want to do in life? Are you glad you're doing what you are? The next morning, I studied Spanish and ate 5 oranges for breakfast since there was no place to cook. I took a shower, did my morning routine of standing cinematically in front of a window, then took a boat ride with Edilberto onto the reservoir. A boat is such an interesting way to see a landscape. He showed me their biggest waterfall in the embalse. I'd never been somewhere this biodiverse. I feel like it really changes your perspective quite a bit on life and life forms. Heading back to the city, I ran out of gas, so I kept eating oranges. Luckily, I met a group of Colombians that helped me out, and I spent the rest of the day with them. The next morning, I joined Daniel to watch the sunrise. Just like when I watched the stars with Edilberto, those large questions rose to the surface. I wonder why. Daniel was a farmer, and it caught me off guard that he truly loved life. When we walked around the city square, it was like he knew every person there. He told me to head to a place called Norcasia, a town at the very front of the embalse. I took a shortcut through the worst trails I'd ever been on. I'd stopped to pick oranges, cacao, aguacate, and carambola. I was enjoying myself so much, just, meeting Colombian farmers and eating fruit. I made it to a restaurant in Norcasia and asked the owner if he knew of a cabin. His friend had one next door, so I stayed there that night. The brother of the owner was a cacao farmer, and he showed me around his property. The next morning, I met his son, a hippie who worked on the hydroelectric dam that made this place a reservoir. I talked with him for hours. He had read Descartes and Nietzsche in high school. He told me when he meditates, his spirit rises above his body. He used a lot of Paisa slang I'd never heard before, so, I was getting some free lessons at the same time. The next day, I meditated for a few hours, then drank the chocolate he grew and processed during sunrise. It was unlike any chocolate I had ever had. I edited my footage from Samana, then prepared to head north. Before I left, he gave me 2 bricks of his chocolate, both of which I'm going to give to my friends back in Bogota. Driving north, I found a river and ate a bag of my fruit there. The trail I'd been going on turned out to be a dead end, so I turned around and made my way towards the city La Dorada. I asked around for a cheap hotel and I found one for $4.50 a night. I washed my clothes in the sink and let them dry overnight. Put yourself in a situation where you don't know what the next 24 hours will feel like. Bo Miles. So my goal was to get to Medellin to shoot a music video for a hip-hop group that I was now closer to than ever before, with one slight problem. Today, I ran out of money. I can normally withdraw money, but today was Sunday, so I had no options. I had to get through the day without any money. I hung out in a river for a while and ate all the fruit I had collected too. I really was free now. No money, no food, no place to stay, just me and my camera. All of a sudden I began to miss cooking meals, having friends, for more than a day, staying in one place and knowing it really well. I think I'll go back to the city. Then I remembered, oh yeah bro, you literally got no money. Luckily, I found an abandoned property further north with a path down to a river where I could camp. I got a hammock with me, so I decided I could try sleeping in it for the first time this night. I had some super old rice and beans in my bag with a tomato that tasted like vinegar. I swam in the river and enjoyed how beautiful it was here. To be truly free, one must take in the basic conditions as they are. I'm exploring freedom thoroughly now. Why just study philosophy when it's alive, somewhere out there? I remember being in high school and the idea I had of not finishing. Back then, I sought freedom and risk. I was tired of monotony and American comfort. In a way, it's lucky to have a turbulent life. When everything is too easy, sometimes people lose their love of life. They lose enthusiasm.
It's the middle of the night here in Colombia. The only night I decide to whip out the hammock, it's a straight up thunderstorm. I had all my electronics, my computer, my camera, my books, everything, just outside, and it starts just thunderstorming. I don't have any dry clothes now, everything is wet. I have 10,000 Colombian pesos, that's $2. I have $2 with me right now, so I can't stay anywhere. I'm just gonna be in this abandoned house until the rain stops sometime tomorrow, hopefully. I think in exploring this concept of freedom, I've realized that everything that freedom brings can either be a tragedy if you take it too seriously, or a blessing if you realize that it's just a game. I think it's just when we take reality too seriously, we feel like we have all these limitations and obligations. But when you're on this just, grounded on nothing version of reality, you get to just enjoy whatever happens. You know, it's as simple as that. This whole day would be terrible if I took it too seriously. I mean, I would be so mad if I took everything that happened today too seriously. But for whatever reason, I just don't want to take any of it seriously. So because of that, it feels like I'm playing a game, and it feels like I want to enjoy it. The only way you're ever really gonna feel free is if the life you're living feels like you're playing it as a game, you know, where it's like, no, you know, this thing happened, I lost, blah blah blah, or like, hey, we won, we did this, you know. If it feels like you're playing a game, then all of a sudden you're free in whatever you're doing now, you know. That's what living within freedom looks like to me.